Yes, we are.
Fire away.
All right, I'd like to call to order the Golf Committee meeting for Tuesday, December 17th, 2024. First, in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30, Section 20, I need to encounter if anyone is taping this meeting. Seeing none, I also want to announce that the meeting is being recorded and will air on Channel 18 after the meeting concludes. All right, the roll call: Jeff Converse.
Here.
John Cookson.
Present.
Keith Hochstein, present. Suzanne Connolly. Mark Bushway. Bill Silva.
Present.
Jason Orby. Okay, Jesse, any public comments?
Negative.
All right, we need to act on the minutes of November the 12th, 2024. Anyone have any comments, questions? John, anything? It was good, okay. All right, so do we have a motion to approve the minutes? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The minutes of November the 12th, 2024 are approved. Director of Golf Maintenance report.
All right.
James?
I wanted to just address a few things on course conditions and some of the reasons why myself or Chris might close the course. I've heard that the pro shop staff is actually taking quite a bit of flack on certain days from golfers for being closed or long frost delays. I mean, this time of the year, we always push it with weather conditions, but at the same time, I mean, our greens were already stressed from the drought in the fall, and we have to protect them. A couple Sundays ago, I went in, Chris was with me, and the greens were still frozen. There was a layer of slush on top, and even though it was gonna be a 55-degree day, I had to close the course. The greens were just mush. And I know we took some heat from that from some golfers, but I just, we have no choice. If we want to have halfway decent greens in the spring, these are the kinds of decisions, you know, me and Chris have to make.
So could you elaborate on taking grief? What does that mean? Because again, I'm over there a lot, and basically the guys that I'm not disagreeing with you.
I'm not saying...
The guys that I'm with are not complaining, but so I'd like to hear as to what exactly happens with our staff.
I don't know exactly who is complaining, but they have taken, like, for example, one guy the other day was upset because he made a 10 o'clock tee time because of frost and he couldn't get out right away because of all the guys backed up from the 8:30 slot. So it's just...
Had an email written to town hall that we're losing revenue.
Yeah.
Just nonsensical.
And this is after Jesse
Someone
sent out
wrote
the
an email to the town manager?
To just, I guess the catch-all inbox, you know.
That we were losing revenue because we had
Because the member
frost
can't get on, oh, wait a minute.
Right.
I believe it
You've
was
already
resident.
got your dues and.
So James responded very professionally and nicely, but it's just the kind of...
I mean, it's December golf. We're lucky to even we could have temporary greens on every hole. If we want to play on real greens, sometimes we're going to have to close. So
Comiquid just sent out an email to all their members saying for the meantime, because of the conditions that have been lately, their first tee time is now 10 o'clock and all 18 greens are on temporaries.
Welcome to Cranberry Valley.
Yeah. And those people are paying $6-7 grand a year.
Same at Hyannisport, they're all temporary.
Yeah.
Right.
And
So
that's, you know.
so when he says we push it, I mean, we do,
Makes a big difference.
we're pretty aggressive in trying to allow people to play as real golf as possible, but, you know.
Have we offered some help to the people at that desk in terms of how they should respond?
and that's part of it.
To
Maybe
this
I can come
negative.
up with some signage up there on my bulletin board to, or maybe even on the ticker, if we can explain it a little better. I don't know. I don't know how much space you have to put in that, but.
You could put up some PSAs about, you know, whatever you want to call it, about, you know, how frost is that.
I know you sent out that email
Yeah,
last
what was
week.
the date of that email anyway?
a couple weeks ago.
couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
All you have
I'm
to do
just
is just say
referring
it's a
to
frost
trying
delay,
to-
and you can't do anything
Gonna
about
kill the
it.
turf.
I don't think it's right, those guys shouldn't be taking.
No, but just to support them in the sense, look, they're rude people. All you gotta do is turn on the news and you see the rude people in the world today.
I think what I'm gonna do is just tell them to contact me, and then I'll set these people straight.
I mean, that's not a bad idea. Simply say, if you'd like to complain, I'll give you James's number.
Yeah.
And, because this is what I've been told. And that's what it should be, and nothing more. They're not there to justify.
Right. No, they're kind of in a tough spot, so.
That would be like going to James about a ruling you got in a club championship that you didn't like. You know.
Well, I just don't want them to
Well, it's also
bear the brunt
important,
of this.
it's also important, I think, to state that if you have a 10 o'clock tea time and that there's frost, all the tea times are pushed back.
It's a delay, it's not a.
It's not that the 8:30 people
Right.
lose their tea time.
Some courses they do.
Yeah, I know it.
It's a balancing act,
Yeah.
especially with, you know, at what point is it no longer a delay and it's just, we're now open and those people, you know, it's tough, but they do the best they can.
Okay.
The last thing I'll say in that, to try to, because of some of the hard frost we've been getting, we are putting in temporary cups on 3, 10, and 16. And we'll probably, on certain days, we might ask for those to be used instead of the greens, because there's some days when the frost on 16 just, it doesn't go away, that back half.
Why do we insist on using the greens? It's winter. And, you know, I mean, pitch marks, who repairs their pitch marks in the winter?
Right.
Most of the guys can't get their hands in the pocket anyway, so it's because they got their gloves on or whatever. And it's like, I don't understand. There are a number of courses, including the one I work at, that they went to temps on December 8th. That was it.
What are they charging, do you know, to public?
25 maybe?
Because we're at 40. So,
It might be more. I'm not
Right.
sure. It might be 35.
and not that I really focus on greens fee revenue in December and January.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
right.
minimally forecasted. But that's something, you know, we've,
Well, it worked better at when Hyannis was open. 'Cause
I
those
was gonna
greens
say
drain
that.
better.
Old
They can
Barney isn't
hand-
meant to be open
yeah,
in the winter.
That place can
so-
handle winter golf a lot better than
Right.
Old Barney.
And it's one of those things where we didn't do it right away. And if you give somebody something and then take it away, it's a lot tougher than if you started with all temps and then, you know.
If you go out and tell them, you know, this is the start of us turning over into temporary greens for the remainder of the winter season until we've deemed it feasible for us to go back to the regular greens. Because they'll be the first ones to complain because the regular greens aren't in good
Right.
shape in the spring
What
when
do
they
you do
want
on
to start
holes,
playing.
I don't know Cranberry Valley very well, but like on a hole like 12 at Old Barney, where would you even put it?
That's tough. Yeah, I
You
don't
know, a hole
Yeah,
like 3 in Hyannis, where, you know, do
You have
holes
a,
like
you
that?
have a difficult situation there, and in the case of 12, I don't know if you could push everybody back and move it down toward the bottom and just,
Oh, you move
you
the
know,
tee back.
first of
yeah.
all, it's
Right.
winter time, and I'm sorry, you're not recording your scores for.
It's exercise is all it
handicap.
is at this
Yeah,
point.
you're out there, you get in a swing, and
James, Chris and I will
I
talk.
mean, really, are you trying to set the course record? No.
Right.
You know, but we're offering you at a reduced rate, or if you're an annual pass holder, you know, the course
winter, it's
is
bonus
there for
golf.
you.
I guess the mistake we made was having all the greens open to begin with, so now it seems like we're taking something away, rather than having started.
You can explain to them, there's damage being done because of conditions. As James pointed out, it was a very dry summer. In spite of all the watering all the courses did, you still can't get the right amount of water on there that you need when you get with rain. And, you know, there are other situations, but you're trying to save the golf course for the busiest time of the year to satisfy the majority of your annual pass holders as well as the guests who are enabling us to have an annual pass holder fee under $1,300 because they pay the freight.
Yeah, we'll huddle up. I mean, it's never something we've had to worry about in the past because Old Barney's never been open. But maybe we do. I mean, we'll talk, we'll,
I understand that
Well,
12
maybe
12's gonna
take a look
create
at
a bit of
each.
an issue.
we're not gonna not do it just because of one hole, but I was just wondering, but I did, you're right, moving the tee back would make sense then, that way it's not a 40-yard
It
hole.
also takes all the pressure off of the front tee box, you know,
Yeah.
where maybe people are now, and that's where they play
I did
most.
tell James, don't be afraid to be more aggressive with delays, closures, and temp stuff, you know,
We have to.
don't think you have to have this golf course completely open.
No,
all,
Sean
you know,
Fernandez does not
not-
hesitate pulling the plug, and,
mean-
you know, it's,
Well, I think Jeff has a good point, but we don't necessarily have to do it that way. We can do it as needed. In your decision-making process, if you see a green that,
It's going backwards here.
like 16, then just make it that a temporary green. And if we keep moving and we have more and more and more,
Sure.
hey, the basic rule is you two-putt every temporary green anyway, so your score is lower.
I think that makes the most sense to just be aggressive with it if you need to. Don't even question it, just do it. If we have 7 temps or 12 temps or 3, whatever it is.
Whatever we
We're gonna
have.
start with these 3 and
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes.
Signage would be good probably up at the course. People that are coming there, and then an email, I don't know, once a month, every 3 weeks, reminding everybody,
Sure,
you know, something along those lines.
just say you're striving for the best possible conditions in the heart of the season.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is what we all wanna do. I mean, you wanna play a golf course that's mint in June, July, August, September.
I mean, we're talking like $40,000 in legal fees budgeted December through March, which is nothing.
Yeah, it's,
You know,
yeah, peanuts.
That's a
People
week.
are gonna come.
That's
They're
a
gonna
week.
come.
But for the Maine, people coming down from Maine, hey, it's a southern trip, you know?
Sure, yeah.
Oh, all right. The only other thing, we did get the second cup in the greens. I don't know if anyone
Yes.
played and noticed that.
Yes.
It was finally thought out enough where Dan was able to go out and get that in, so that's nice. That'll help alleviate some of the traffic problems. If we
And
can.
they're all pretty well separated.
Yes,
Most
yeah,
of them are a good 20 feet apart,
Yeah.
which is good.
so that was good. And, you know, as needed, if it's warm enough and he can get in the ground, he'll change them, so.
So the staff will change them
If we can, yep.
as opposed to the players as they come through?
Oh, no, I
No,
mean,
actual cups,
actual
cutting
moving the
cups.
cups.
Okay.
Yeah, the golfers are gonna have to move the
Yeah,
pins.
yeah,
Right.
okay, yeah.
Question on that, okay, somebody hits a shot and it goes in the cup that doesn't have the flag, is that a hole in one?
Sure, we'll let them
I did it. I did
Really?
it. I Ennisport, yeah, 8th hole.
off the tee.
Yeah, a couple
Oh,
weeks
yeah,
ago.
par 3, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
They went in the first hole, I couldn't find the ball, I said, geez, I hit it straight, I gotta be up here somewhere.
Like 40 feet away or something. or-
Yeah, so I gave up, I said, that's a lost ball, and my partner found it in the
That's
hole.
funny. What are the odds? But yeah, whatever.
Moving on, the fairway mowers finally came in to Hyannis, actually shortly after our last meeting.
Good timing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Now they'll,
Didn't get to try them out,
Right.
but the equipment package is complete. We have everything, which is good. So we're gonna be auctioning off, actually it already started, a bunch of the older stuff. That money goes into surplus, but some of it's in pretty good shape still, even though it's older.
I haven't looked lately to see.
It's starting to,
Alright.
yeah, I mean.
How do you do that? How does that get?
We go through procurement, they help set it up with an auction company. We have to advertise because some of it, I'm anticipating over 10 grand.
Yeah, we'll get
Oh,
5
awesome.
figures.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a
Just saw
process,
the
it's on a
ads for
website, anybody can bid
Dennis.
on it.
Oh, they're doing it?
Their ads have been in the paper for their equipment.
Yeah.
It's not just the golf course, it's also the highway department or whatever, you know, they have all kinds
Right,
of
the harbor
stuff.
master auctions
Yeah.
off for Barnstable, all the abandoned boats
Yeah.
every year, it's same type of thing, so. Not a huge chunk, but, you know, maybe we can do a supplemental appropriation with it and get something we need.
Certainly wish it didn't go into surplus and it was spendable, but,
Right.
you know, I tried to make the case that it was, can it show up as a reimbursement rather than revenue? Because of all the money we've had to spend on fixing the old stuff, you know, because a reimbursement is spendable where revenue isn't, but no dice.
So That's good. Winter work, besides all the standard required, regular maintenance we do every year. We're gonna focus on some tree work. One thing being, I'm actually meeting with them Thursday. A contractor is gonna come out and look at the left-hand side of the 12th hole at Hyannis. And
Okay,
the overgrowth there is just
Right.
ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah.
We can't do it, it's all way too high, he has specialized equipment where he can come in and limb it all up, all the way down.
especially when we move the tee box over to the left there.
Yes, yeah,
You can hit a decent shot and.
He's tired of me complaining about it. I talk about it all the time.
well, Jesse's right though, I mean, if you play a slice, you're up on the hill now on the
Yeah.
right, and, cause you
You
can't
have to
aim
aim
left.
down the middle.
Yeah.
You can't play for your slice there, so.
Yeah.
That's my favorite hole too, so I always,
So that-
I'm always
There'll
complaining
be a few
about it.
golf balls in there.
Oh, yeah, yeah, so, that's coming out of OpCap, correct, I see the,
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
tree.
it won't be a ton.
And that's just gonna be like a thinning out, you're just gonna thin that out?
Yeah, well, it's gonna be pretty aggressive. I wanna open it up.
Oh,
'Cause
good.
if you just pick at it a little bit, in
Yeah.
a couple of years, it's just gonna
We're talking
be-
just limbing, right? No trees are coming down.
a few trees have to come down.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but it's mostly limbing, and it's no stump grinding, cause they're all,
There's no need. They're
There's
not,
no
they're
need.
not in play.
right.
Yeah.
Jesse, if that's your favorite hole, would you remove some of the traps in front of the well?
I would like to. I would like to. That's in the bigger plan
That's part of the.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another pet peeve of mine, the whole shot out of a trap over another trap. And we might, that's something, I don't wanna put too much on James, but maybe we can do that in-house after, if we pull, next time we pull plugs.
It's
From wherever, but-
13
You need a lot of fill.
13 is
first.
really
Six,
12.
Yeah.
then you go back to Barnstable, 6 has that
13 is short enough
situation.
that you-
1, 6, and 13.
13 and 1, yeah.
Yeah. But 12 is a hard enough hole because that elevated green. You know,
So that'll be great for that hole over there. In-house, me and Chris are leaning towards having, the guys work on the 5th hole at Old Barnstable on the right. Same type of problem. That's more tree removal. I mean, those oak trees on that right-hand side are just blocking out the whole right side of the hole. And if we have, that's a project, that could take them all winter, the size of some of those trees. If we have time, we'd love to address, the left of 18 in front of the gold tee. I know a
there's a
lot of the
problem.
women that play from that tee
There's a-
complain about that.
Left of 18.
You try to
Right.
carry the bunkers, you can't, the trees are
can't.
hanging over them.
You really have to push it out to the right into the fairway if
Yeah.
you're not gonna carry the bunkers.
and now you have a terrible angle for your
And
second
then you
shot.
have a tough angle.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that tee box is the only one when you're playing the goals or the greens, depending the markage, that you actually have a disadvantage.
It's not fair. So and we've talked about it for a number of years, so we'd love to try to address that one. And that could be done in-house, the guys can handle that, so. Even though they're big trees, that's more of a tree removal thing too. I mean, limbing them isn't gonna do any good. They're just huge. They gotta go. One other thing, I got some water quality results back from, some samples I sent out to the lab and some I did myself with a meter I bought. Very good, water quality on that pond on 3. No traces of nitrate, no traces of phosphorus, and dissolved oxygen, which is kind of a measure of, how healthy, the pond is to aquatic life, the results were excellent. So I was kind of expecting that. I know Bruce had done water testing on it years ago and had good results.
Now, as soon as we get the ospreys into the,
Yeah,
it'll be
I know.
terrific.
right.
Yeah, stock it,
So that's,
and food.
that's good news, and that's all part of kind of what the Audubon requires too. I gotta do a couple more rounds of it, and that part of the water quality thing is kind of the last thing we're waiting on with them, so, good news there on all fronts. To have, I mean, it's, the pH is perfect, it's good results.
Good, very good.
But yeah, especially with our sustainable program, I wasn't expecting, problems with the water there.
Well, it's nice to know that the results are showing the positive efforts that we've made.
Sure, and I mean, we're super careful, that's a no spray zone, that whole left-hand side near the pond. We're super careful when we're making fertilizer applications not to get any fertilizer into the water. It's all, plays a big part. And I think it shows just visually when you look at that pond. I mean, if you're on the left side of 3 Green, you can see the bottom, you can see the fish swimming in it. It looks like a clean body of water.
Great. Any comments or questions for James?
Good job.
No?
I just want to compliment the whole staff on the leaf cleanup.
I should have
Even
mentioned that
between,
they,
you talk about the 5th hole, between the 5th and the 6th, if you don't hit a great shot and you're in there, you have to worry about the trees, of course, but you pretty much have a clean shot. And all the scrub brush areas that you've cut down are cut down really clean.
Yep.
Couple of guys did complain that you cut some of the golf balls remaining in there, so they couldn't pick
Ball
those
off,
up.
No, the guys kicked butt this year on leaf cleanup. They all came down all at once, and they were just out there for 7 or 8 hours every day and
Yeah.
got it cleaned up, so.
Well, it shows.
How can I don't know why I'm doing this in this forum, but it just came to my mind. The solar aerator on the pond on Ford Hyannis, are you happy with that, or is it doing its job, or is it underpowered?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of plant life growing in there.
Yes.
It's not so much a bacteria algae problem.
Okay.
I don't know if we get into
That's why I asked. I was out there the other day and I was like, man,
Yeah.
that aerator's only doing like the middle.
It's
third or
actually
something.
rated for that size pond.
Oh, okay.
It's just, we have some other issues with that. I don't know if I go in there with a pool skimmer and try to get it all out or what, but.
Doesn't really matter right now, just
Yeah.
security.
Yeah.
Any more fencing gonna be put up?
At some point, I think we still have some more to do over at Hyannis. Trying to think of where we haven't gotten to yet. I don't know if we want a fence on 13. Maybe up by the green, I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Well, the fencing just off the tee box on 13 really has worked because
Yes.
grass started growing in there and it looks very appropriate.
Yeah, there's a few more spots. I'm trying to think of where we might want to put some more. Might be more so at Hyannis along some of those new cart paths. I know they got the one in on 6, 1.
Yeah.
14, I just think there's not enough space there.
That's exactly what I was just thinking about, was left to 14, but it's too close to the green.
It's too close.
That's just, that's a ruling nightmare, that's too close to the green.
Maybe we'll just end up putting our little white and green stakes there.
Perfect.
Try to
Yes,
keep
yes.
carts.
That makes
Off.
sense. Yeah, I wouldn't want a fence there, I mean, you're this far from the
It's
green.
too close, yeah.
You pull a wedge shot in there and now
And 13's
you're trying to chip
borderline.
over a fence and you're only this far off the green, that's.
13's borderline too, that's
You
pretty
shouldn't have put
close.
it there.
I know. I'm always left on 14 because you can't go right, that approach shot. So
I mean, possibly 16 green. Maybe.
that I could see. That's far enough away.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And there used to be, right?
Maybe before my
Forever. Yeah.
time.
40 pit stays
Behind 16 or?
to the right,
To the right.
just so carts stay on the path. There's no, you know what I mean? They keep,
Okay.
every year they inch.
Oh, yeah.
Just like 6 to the left of 6 green. That's why we put that there. It's just, monkey see, monkey do.
Years ago at Old Barney, there used to be fence on 6, because there's a cow path now.
Yes.
In front of the bunkers
Yeah.
where all the carts cut across.
Yeah. People see it and they use it.
I mean, fence is great, it looks great, but it's also, start getting too much of it, it becomes a maintenance headache for us too, weed whacking and, yeah.
You don't have the bodies to do all that weed whacking.
No, we
I
had one
mean,
young kid in the crew this
Yeah.
year, so, yeah.
You could
Okay.
make that like a formal path.
I guess you could.
I mean, they're using
Probably
it
could,
anyway.
yeah.
So do you talk to the vocational schools about maybe somebody who's in?
I have, not recently, I actually had, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, their teacher called me and I had them come in for like a little field trip, handed them all applications and I didn't get one back.
Really?
Yeah.
A lot of them may
That was
be
Cape
further
Tech,
away.
so maybe, yeah.
I don't know, if Upper Cape goes to Sandwich, so I was just curious, I'm trying to figure out a way that, in my mind, where more young people would start getting involved in the, the golf course business.
We have two things working against us, the early start time, and we don't pay enough money. We can't compete with a gas station or paying $25 an hour for them to sit there behind the
Yeah, the
desk.
register and,
Yeah,
And a 5 o'clock start time.
that's, yeah.
yeah.
I
Those
thought
are,
you were gonna say there were two things against us, the early start time and the early start time.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, that's the big one. I
yeah,
think,
what kid is, yeah.
well, I have a couple of kids on my golf team that are working at Hyannis Sport, so,
We're up against that too,
yeah,
because they get perks over there.
yeah, they do.
Well, they can
Why are you
play.
there?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, Director of Golf report?
All right, as you know, our early sign-up program began in November, how am I doing? To date, as of this morning, we've sold 40 passes, equating to right around 40,000. For the record, we've forecasted 70,000 in that category through the end of December, so probably gonna come up a little short there, but not a huge deal, nothing I'm overly concerned about. As far as rates, happy to say Town Manager Ells has approved our fee proposal for the upcoming season. I don't believe he received a single comment from the public during the 30-day period after the hearing, so I'll file that under no news is good news. We'll be doing our annual mailer, hoping to get that out first week of January. That will contain, as it has in the last few years, a 2025 application, a fridge magnet with the 2025 tournament schedule on it, and a letter highlighting some recent accomplishments and upcoming plans. We will again run the membership raffle, so anyone purchasing a pass in the months of January or February, whether they're renewing or they're brand new, they'll get a ticket into the raffle, so to speak. So just like last year, there'll be 7 prizes, 4 guest passes, $100 gift card, a range pass, and then the big one being the actual membership itself. I'm assuming we'll conduct that raffle at the April meeting, right? Yeah, because March would be too soon. We need to wait for the mailers to come in. As always, all Pro Shop credit expires at the end of the calendar year. At this point, multiple notices have been sent to the membership about this. As of yesterday morning, when I wrote this, there was still about $15,000 on the books. It sounds like a lot, but it's pretty typical this time of year. Last year, as of this date, there was 12,000. The year before that, it was 14,000. So people need to spend their money. I always get a kick out of the people who wait till December 29th and say, you don't have anything in my size. It's like, where have you been? Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah. Revenue, through the end of November, we're up about 200,000 over forecast. A relatively small amount of revenue is forecasted for December, so that number is unlikely to move much through the end of this month. January, same thing, not too much is forecasted, but then once we get in, we start getting into much heavier numbers as we enter membership season, and then obviously the warmer months. So I don't think that 200 number is gonna move much over the next 6 weeks or so. Lastly, I wanted to circle back and clarify something regarding Habib and Associates, that private company that we hired to basically be the project manager. You had asked about cost. I found out they're actually being paid by the insurance company, so that's a 0 on our end.
Oh,
And that number, I believe, is around 165,000 that they're being paid to do the project management, and insurance is paying that. General contractor has been selected, which was the last piece of the puzzle in terms of all the different companies involved. We're now waiting on procurement and legal to finalize the contracts, get all the paperwork in place. The obvious question becomes, when will work start? I have no earthly idea. We expect a pre-construction meeting to happen in early January, where we'll, walk through, and I'll list all of my concerns and things that I'm thinking about that need to happen, and hopefully get some good answers.
Who's the GC?
It's a company called Collins Construction. There were 5 bidders. They came in, and I should clarify another thing. I had incorrectly stated last meeting, I had assumed that their, I think I said sole responsibility would be pretty much timing and management of the, that's not true. They have legitimate nowhere in those other 9 bids was actual construction, walls, that kind of thing. So I forgot about that. So they are actually, they're not just,
GC,
They're not just
they're doing
pointing.
the work.
yes,
doing,
and because that came in, that was like 900. So I will say, all these bids that came in, I was hesitant to share this number because I don't want to be held to it, but 2.95 was the number we've been going all along. The bids came in at about 2.5, all said and done. Now, that could go up.
Absolutely.
Change orders, what they find, who knows? But the bids themselves are 2.5 instead of 3, so that's good news. For now, we'll see. But yeah, the GC is the biggest one in terms of money, because there is actual work involved. It's not just the scheduling of everybody.
So did they have to bid separately on the work?
No, it was one number,
It was one number.
yeah. 848,000. It's all one number, yeah. The next highest thing was HVAC at 370. And then the fire suppression system, 322, electrical, 194, and then everything else is 5 digits, totaling 2.5. So at least that's done, contracts are being awarded. That's really all I know right now about that. Outside, I just jotted this down, this has nothing to do with that, but we've done, ever since Hyannis closed about exactly a month ago, on the 18th, Old Barney has done 1,800 rounds. So that's pretty, 60 rounds a day, basically, in 30, that's pretty busy considering this time of year. 100 rounds is basically a sold out tee sheet. You only have 5 hours worth of tee times or whatever, so the course is pretty busy, 1,800 rounds in 30 days, that's all I have. Not too
So
much.
Jesse, that general contractor
Yeah.
now, we've talked about this, Bill has brought this up and other members of the committee in terms of the town selecting the best person at the best price. And sometimes the question comes up, is the lowest price the best price
Right.
for the best work? Could you address that at all now in terms of this Collins construction?
They were all pretty similar. They were all pretty similar. I don't have, general. Let's see, they were the lowest. They were all within about 300,000 of each other. So they were the lowest. There was only one where the town did not select the lowest, because the low one was just a crazy outlier. Where is it?
The HVAC.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, see, they didn't even list it here. Was it HVAC?
It was like 200,000.
They didn't even list it here.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, I mean,
155.
everybody was right around 350, 380, and there was one company that was like 120. And
Okay,
it just,
that's preposterous.
correct, they just knew, there's no way you can do that for that. There's gonna be change orders galore, So that was the only one they did not go with, technically the lowest. But I saw a letter from that private company. A letter wrote to procurement that they vetted Collins and said, we have no problem with them doing the work. So they did some research on them.
Again, I'm not complaining
Right,
about
right.
this, but we've talked about this many times with the cart path project,
Yeah.
going back to that.
Yeah.
In terms of, yes, they may have been the lowest price, but are we going to really get what we want?
Time will
So-
tell.
Time will tell.
Lowest bidder is always, a sticking point with some people.
Right.
But they were all pretty close, and they were vetted by that company.
You say that
Yeah.
company, you mean Habib? Habib
Yes.
Associates?
Yeah, they did the research, I saw, I forget what the exact wording is, but it said, we have no objections, I think was literally the wording. We have no objections to them being awarded.
So do we know anything about Collins Construction?
Not really.
Where are they located?
I think in Bedford.
Fall River.
Fall River? Yeah, so
I think they've done some
local.
banks, a few school remodels or something like that.
Do you know, James, if they've done anything in the town of Barnstable?
I don't know. I'm not sure. That was just for me, just kind of cruising around on the website a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
The next biggest was Yankee Sprinkler, that's the fire protection. I think maybe they were the New Bedford one. It'll be interesting. I mean, I just, I don't know how this works for the GC working with 9 other vendors that they very, very well might have zero, relationship with, but we'll see.
So
Who has the new water?
Yeah, Yankee Sprinkler is, yeah.
Yeah, who's bringing the water in from
Right, because it's obviously not them, they're doing all the interior work. I guess that's something they sub out on their end, I guess, because obviously, yeah, that company isn't digging up the parking lot or all that. But I mean, that was over 300,000 for that part of it, so I assume a big portion of that is bringing the line in. That must be a sub within a sub, I guess. Would that make sense? I mean,
Yeah.
just like PacCon had Rafe
Right.
or whatever, right? The CarPath company, I believe, had another PacCon.
A sub,
Had somebody working with them because half their equipment had a different name on it. Unless they had purchased that equipment from
No,
a different company.
100% of it was subbed out. They were just strictly managing them. Well,
Okay. Right.
managing. Yeah, they subbed the whole thing out.
So, I mean, I'm
So who-
sorry for asking these questions, but
Go
do
ahead,
they,
Bill.
a company like Collins, do they come in with references that somebody from the town looks at their work? They have some idea of what kind of big jobs
I
they've
don't
done?
know what they provide before, besides simply a number.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
Sure. Again, I wasn't part of the process. I wasn't even on the committee.
Yeah.
The selection committee. But they're taking the word of that private company that said we've vetted them, and that's part of what that $165,000 they're being paid by Chubb Insurance. That's part of what that is.
do we feel like inviting Chris to a future meeting would be appropriate to talk about these issues? Or is he going to simply, and again, this isn't critical, is he simply going to say that he has faith in them and he's going to proceed in that way?
Well,
I'd be learning right along with you.
I would guess at some point in time, Collins or Habib would have a schedule
Oh, for sure.
of timing.
They'll
And I
have to.
think that would be the point at which it would be interesting to know when the water main is gonna be.
That obviously needs to happen, but I mean,
Scheduled to be
asphalt
done.
plants close.
Yeah.
If they already are, right? When did they, I don't know, I don't,
It's not above 40 degrees.
that obviously needs to be quickly. I'm worried about if there's gonna be intermittent the power to the current pro shop in the trailer is coming off that building. So if they kill power to the building, the pro shop has no, so these are things I need to talk about in the meeting to make sure that, now, if all the electrical work is done before mid-March when Hyannis opens, then it's not a problem. But these are the questions that I have,
What about this pre-construction meeting then? Would it be appropriate to ask if a member of the golf committee could attend that meeting? To perhaps just simply, from the player's point of view, ask some of these questions?
I think that's appropriate.
Certainly ask. I don't know when it is yet. I was told, early January. But, this is the time of year where everything becomes after the new year.
Well, again, obviously, we want that done so that the parking lot can open once.
That's what I'm afraid of. I've already started thinking, am I gonna have to block off every other tee time? Am I gonna have to,
Did you ever
I
make
just-
any inquiries about that parcel of land to the left of the entrance
oh,
at Hyannis?
no. Short answer is no. No, not ever since that, the bike path meeting that we had, where that was being talked about, but I don't even know how that would happen. I'm driving down 132 the other day saying, where would this go? Like,
I don't know, I have no idea how they're
I
gonna
don't
do
know.
that.
I don't see it happening. I just,
Golf balls flying over the.
yeah, yeah, hopefully the next meeting, I'll have a date for that. I'll at least know. Can't imagine it would have happened already. January 14th, so maybe.
We can probably assume that it's not gonna be done by June 1st like they were telling us to.
I know what I think, but
I'm just,
yeah.
I mean, have you ever seen a project of construction like that goes?
They'll encounter obstacles they didn't know were there.
Sure, and then,
I just need to get my head
issues with
around-
Eversource and
I need to get
whatever.
my head, right, the easement. I need to get my head around, are we gonna have a parking lot? And is the pro shop trailer going to have powered internet and phone? You know, and where are all these trucks gonna go? I don't know. I mean, I know Suzanne's been harping on it for months, and she's right, but how can I plan for it when I don't have any information? You know, if we have to close, if they're gonna bring that in and they think they can do it quickly and we have to close, even if it's in May, if I have to close for a few days, so be it. We close, okay, I mean, I have to think end game, you know.
And then you have to answer why you didn't reach your numbers.
Honestly, I mean, easy answer. You know,
Here's the answer,
yeah,
but
easy answer, but doesn't change the math.
Well, I don't want to, obviously, ask Jason Orby, even if he's not here, to attend that meeting, but obviously he has a high level of expertise in this area. And he would be a terrific candidate to attend something like the pre-construction meeting.
Agreed.
I'll reach out as soon as I find out when it is. Contracts aren't even in place yet, so we don't even have, all these vendors need to submit their insurance information and all kinds of stuff. We're waiting on a lot of paperwork from 10 different vendors.
Yeah.
So, I hate to sit here without answers for you guys. It's equally frustrating to me,
Well, construction is construction, but construction at a golf course, considering the logistics and the scheduling and everything else involved with opening Hyannis, is a different story.
And the last thing I wanna do is delay the opening, which puts more and more and more stress on Old Barnstable. He doesn't wanna hear that. I mean, we'll see what happens. We've been operating a limited capacity for 2 years. What's another few months? Hate to say it, but. And then there's the food and beverage issue. I can't say with any confidence that we're going to have anything. I'm not sure. I don't know.
I thought that they had agreed to come back next year.
No.
Gimmies.
It's being talked about, but nothing's been decided.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know why. I thought they had agreed to come back, but when is that going to be decided? Do you have any idea?
I believe Dawn did call Chris about a liquor license about a week ago, so I believe the intention is there. I just don't wanna promise it, because I don't know.
Well, we had discussed that because it was gonna be impossible. In fact, I think John brought the question up. It was gonna be impossible to go out for a bid in the normal way, because even though you mentioned June the 1st as a potential opening, it could be July 1st or longer.
Right.
So it would be impossible to get a bid
Correct.
for that restaurant, the real restaurant in there. So that's why I was under the understanding that Gimmies was gonna come back and continue the same way they did last
we
year,
would like
and
them
they
to.
would, of course, have liquor.
We would like them to. I believe they are on board, but I can't sit here and tell you, yes, they're coming back. I don't know that.
I think we left it that we were gonna offer them
Right.
the
Some kind of
opportunity to come
limited
back.
lease,
Yeah,
license,
a
whatever you wanna call it.
Special kind of deal.
Yeah.
But I don't think we ever got confirmation that they would be back.
So,
Yeah, we had talked about this in the sense that we were going to, in effect, have to offer them the entire season. Because even though the course may open, we weren't going to be able to get another bid in. And so, in effect, they would have the whole season.
and they would never agree to come in and then leave in July.
No,
It would be
and
worth it to
that would be unfair.
Right.
And we need them for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, but I need to prepare myself for the possibility of having nothing. I just don't want that to be a complete shock to anybody if that happens, because it's the possibility's there, 5%, 10%, 20%.
Is there a process that we're looking at to try to determine the result of that?
That will be I'll report back to that on you ASAP. I ask these questions all the time. It's not like it just dawned on me. And I just don't get concrete info because nobody really knows what they're thinking. We can press them for a response all we want, but it's tough. I can say definitively that I will at least have asked the question aggressively for the January meeting. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'll
Well, again, in the sense that, I mean, they're, I presume, gonna try to plan their business strategy for 2025, and it would be in their best interest, as well as ours, to determine whether or not they wanna come back.
I certainly would think so. I wonder, it's not like this is let's be real about what Gibby's is. It's MMSFI, right? Massachusetts Military Support Foundation. And this isn't something that like they need to do. This is just something that they ran it with volunteers, basically. It's not like if it didn't exist, they would have to cut somewhere else, or it's not part of their.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It was almost like a bonus endeavor for them. So, where's the leverage? You know what I mean?
Well, they also advertised going back several years that they were hiring vets.
Mm-hmm.
So the advantage for them would be that, for one thing, they could hire some vets to work.
In theory, it wasn't even it wasn't being talked about as a restaurant. It was a training center. In theory, this is what who knows? I wish I had a good answer, but neither. I ask these questions all the time, and I just get we're waiting.
So what are we offering them as a carrot? Just the opportunity that we're not gonna send this out to bid or anything, we're asking you to come back?
Yeah, I mean, the
And,
minimal.
you're here for the entire season.
Right.
Or do you offer them more, i.e. next year, we would like to consider you, for when we finally are open, maybe
You'd
next
like to
year.
think that common sense would prevail on their end, that if they did a good job, then that puts them in a position to where
exactly.
they're I mean, shouldn't have to tell them that.
If they offered you the same package a year from now, for the like 2 years, 3 years, whatever you're gonna set up for concessionaire, then if they offered the same package as somebody else, I would think that had they been doing a good job, they might have their foot inside the door a little bit
Why
more.
wouldn't you go with somebody who's more familiar with the clientele and
Yeah.
right, of course.
Well, also, Jeff, that expression you just used, offering them a carrot, we might be able to say to them, if and when the course opens, that they could take over the restaurant itself, which would then become a relatively profitable endeavor on their part.
Yeah, if all
I
the
can't imagine
equipment's
we
in
could
there
promise
and
that.
stuff,
We can't promise that?
No, that'll have to be an official RFP with, something of that magnitude.
Yeah, I was
where
just curious if there might be
Yeah.
something we could say
Right.
to them, like, in addition to, we can
Right.
do this for you.
If the course were to open June 1st, and again, that's a possibility.
Sure.
And we don't have somebody taking over that restaurant like we have, for instance,
Right.
at Old Barnstable. Who is gonna run the restaurant?
You answered your own question.
Is Gimmy's gonna run the restaurant?
Inside?
Yes, inside.
No,
Well, who will run it?
nobody. You just said if we don't have anybody.
So we're not gonna open that restaurant anytime next year, even if the
I don't see that happening. No,
even the bar area is not gonna open.
I don't see that happening. Who would get a liquor license I don't see that happening, no, honestly. That's why I'm saying this needs to be a reality that everybody understands.
Well, if Gimmy's gets a liquor license,
Mhm.
then they would have a license for that location, correct?
I'm not sure how that works. I don't think it's as simple as them just sliding inside, moving from the
Well,
truck to
we're not-
I really don't.
We're just
agree with
talking out loud in
Right.
terms of who's gonna run that restaurant, and I mean, I thought someone,
That will be a full-blown RFP, just like we did for Old Barney a few years ago.
right, I was part of that, I
Right,
remember it.
right, yeah, it'll be one of them, it'll be, you know, the 80-page document and the ad in the paper and the whole deal. When's that gonna happen? I have no clue. We are in the process
Presumably it would
now.
happen before the building is ready for occupancy, I would think.
You'd hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the process now of inventorying everything that's in there so that we know what to tell the potential vendor, here's what you'd be walking into. So, I mean, we've been busy moving a bunch of stuff around and identifying what's what and who owns what, you know.
Somebody's gonna have to decide as construction, occurs, when's the point where you put that RFP out?
Right.
So that you can time it.
Right, I mean,
Cause I think Keith is right, I mean, you have a brand new building and you don't have somebody to operate the restaurant, it's insane.
it's crazy. That's how these,
I know, I mean, I'm just wondering how that's gonna roll with people. I mean,
You're basically guaranteeing yourself at least 3 years without a concessionaire inside.
I think so,
And, yeah, it's,
I think so, I mean,
that's when, I mean, you're probably feeling the effects of not having a concessionaire as far as group outings.
100%.
stuff,
oh,
I
way,
mean,
way down.
the impact has
Way down.
been tremendous, I'm sure.
Now, the reason I'll pitch to get that RFP out as soon as possible is because unlike Fairgrounds, that restaurant makes money year round with the function room and everything. So it's not like we would wait till the 2026 season to open. Somebody could walk in there, say Gibby's had the truck and they closed in
Right.
mid-October like usual. A new vendor it's not crazy to think a new vendor would come in November. Why would they come in at the end of the season? Because Gibby's is now gone and there's still money to be made in the function room over the winter.
Absolutely.
So
Well,
I'm not
again-
saying we're gonna wait till the spring
Yeah.
of '26.
that function room, Scott always viewed the bar area as like icing on the cake.
Yes,
His main
yes.
money-making area was the function room, and we all know this, weddings and,
I met with a restaurant expert we did recently to help us say what's what, and he said the same thing. He said if I was in here, a function room would be my moneymaker.
of
The
course.
bar would be,
You have the Rotary Club there, you can go
and
on
that's my
and
job
on.
to make sure that, I need to make sure that the golfers aren't an afterthought.
Oh, right.
I need to say, okay, I get it, you wanna make all your money in here, but
Yeah.
don't forget about our customers on this other side,
Well, not to
the
mention
beer and hot
also,
dog people,
we would start to get rent.
Oh, correct.
I think, was that 1,200 a month? I'm looking at John, who knows all these things.
Who knows?
The
It's a-
rent
it's
was
a
like
percentage of-
1,200 a month.
It's a percentage of sales and
Plus a
and they pay
percentage.
half the utilities,
Yeah,
so that's huge. It's a 5-digit number, it's not crazy, it's like you said, it's probably 20 grand for the year,
Yeah.
somewhere around there. Yeah, but, yeah, I need to find out where they stand. I know a phone call was made about a liquor license recently, so that's good news, that they're already thinking about it. Cause that's not cheap to renew,
So a liquor license for the inside,
no,
no, I'm just
oh,
saying,
yes,
hypothetically. Is that, so if someone who's operating a restaurant now wants to come in,
Yeah.
when the building's completed, they have to apply for a liquor license for that location?
right. And they'll never get it concurrently with Gimme's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not gonna have two separate companies with one, so the Gimme's license would have to run its course over the course of the year. They would close mid-October, I'm guessing, like they have in the past. Columbus Day was always their last day in the last couple of years. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be really tough.
Well, again, I go back to my question about bringing Chris into a future meeting, because it seems like we're uncovering more and more questions here.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously his word representing the town is the final word on this matter, but I think we'd like to know so that we can let membership know, for one thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
I will certainly ask him. I know Tuesday evenings are really tough for him always because of hockey. So it might be one of these again. That might be our best bet. You know.
I don't know about these things. Who issues the liquor license?
What do you mean?
Who issues it?
The town.
The town of Barnstable
The
does?
license, yeah.
So they wouldn't recognize the fact that there's a transition happening here where, you know, you might end up with an overlapping license for a different vendor to go into the building? I mean,
I'm the wrong person to ask.
Yeah, I know,
I
I'm
don't
just-
think so. I cannot imagine a world in which two different entities have a liquor license on the same property.
Yeah,
but Gimmy's doesn't have it on the
it
same
wasn't
property. They're in
until
the
a few
parking lot.
years ago that they actually got a license there.
Well, it's
You
the
know,
property.
When John Clem was here, they didn't have a liquor license there. He wouldn't allow it to happen. So, you know, and so it's a testy.
Takes
Liquor
months.
licenses are brutal.
Yeah, and they're expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Bill Helmsley, when he was awarded the restaurant at Old Barnstable, it took him months
Yep.
to get the liquor license.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
went through that at
But
Cranberry
that
Valley
was
with the new
all
guy.
Boston, that was a lot
I
of,
heard it's like a 3-month process.
he had to go
Minimum.
through, he had to
Yeah.
jump hoops through people
Yeah.
in Boston,
Oh, we have, down at Cranberry
really?
Valley, we have a guy from Jake Rooney's, has his restaurant there. But he went through a 4-month wait to get a liquor license for the golf course. So it's, you know, towns do not move quickly. And, you know, neither does the state, so it's,
All states worse.
yeah. But you know, it's gonna be a sticky process, and, you know, like Jesse's been trying to gear himself up to put up with the fact that there probably won't be anything inside for until Gimmy's is done, if they decide
If they
to come
come
back.
Right. Now, if we found out tomorrow Gimmy's is out, that clarity would allow us to at least move forward with, maybe we start on the RFP a little faster, you know. But we still wouldn't be able to issue it because we can't, how can we go out and say, we might be open June 1st, might be open August 1st, we don't know, you know, nobody's gonna
Well,
bite.
that's where, you know,
Might be
Habib
open
has to come
October
in
12th.
Right.
to play and tell you, you know, this is right on
Right.
schedule and,
Right. It's gonna be messy.
yeah.
I wish
well, whether Gimmy's is here or he isn't here, if they're not here, it's one thing, if they are here, this transition between the liquor license that they have this is why, we need, people from the town telling us some of this stuff.
and I hate to sit here and just, you know, give you
Oh,
nothing,
it's-
but
It's not fair. I
Yeah.
understand it's not fair.
Are they gonna be able to give you a definitive answer? Probably not. You know, I'm sure Chris will sit here and say, well, we don't know for sure, because, you know.
and he's not, it's not a cop out, it's
Because
just a
it's
million
not
variables.
gonna be, you know, it's when construction's completed that you'll know that could be an opening date, but, you know, man,
If we absolutely knew for a fact that June 1st we were gonna be open, I would say, I'm fine with going without anything until then. Let's
Well,
put an
that's
RFP
that's
out.
obviously
Right.
an option.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's not even entertain,
Yeah.
we'll have nothing until June 1st, that's fine by me. You know, but who knows? I mean,
Well, again, I think, looking at that pre-construction meeting, whatever that is, if we could ask that, well, we
You'll know
definitely
as soon
can
as I
ask that question as to whether or not Collins or Habib, either one of those people, can give us an answer.
And liquor licenses are issued for a a year, an annual
I
period?
think you have to renew every year, yeah.
It's an annual
Pretty sure.
license, not 6 months.
I mean, it's a big, even to transfer the name on it. If you own a restaurant and you hire your manager leaves, and you hire a new manager,
Yeah,
they have to go in front of the board, explain how give the licensing board their resume. I've been in the food and beverage I've been in the bar business for 20 years, I blah, 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 and they kind of get grilled a little and, and that's for an existing restaurant that is fully had, no violations, no anything, just to change the name on it for a new manager,
If you've ever seen the licensing committee on TV, on Channel 8, I've watched the meetings, and it is just what Jesse says. Just to bring in a new manager, you have to really go through your whole process. Okay.
You'll know the second I find out when that meeting is, you will know. I'll talk to Chris about the next meeting, and I'll press about where we stand with Gimmies. I
Someone's gonna reach out to
I
Jason.
don't love my chances of getting definitive answers, but
Are you gonna reach out to Jason, see if he'd be available? When's
Well,
that
I
date?
don't,
Once you
we'll
get the
see
dates
whether or not
made.
that is even approved. I'm hoping that Jesse can find out. We don't know when that meeting is not even scheduled yet.
right. But it very well could be before our next meeting.
Speaking of our next meeting, and I don't wanna get off what Jesse was just talking about, do we wanna have it on the 12th then? And we also have to talk about whether or not we're not gonna meet in February or March. I don't wanna do that today with 3 people absent. That would be a less than appropriate way to do that. But at the next meeting, one way or another, we'll decide that.
Sure. I'll get back to you on if there's a very good chance Chris says I am available on the 14th, but it needs to be during the day, like this. Is that worth? And I hate doing it because I know it shuts out, Mark or Jason that still working. I hate doing it, but I mean, today they didn't have anybody. I had it scheduled, and then I was told we don't have anybody for after hours.
To film, that was the original
Right,
reason why we
right.
moved this meeting, yes. Well, Jason would be a good person to have at that meeting, that's the only thing I can say. And again, I don't want to speak for him, but he obviously has a great deal of expertise in this area.
And he's been generous with offering his time in the past.
Because I think before the next meeting, Jesse's gonna be finding out a lot of details from Chris, from Collins, from Habib. And this pre-construction meeting, I mean, maybe we can have more than one person if somebody else wants to attend the meeting.
I can't wait to have some clarity on a lot of this.
yeah, I mean, everything is so cloudy right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we're walking in a fog.
Yeah,
I did have one other thing I want to just bring up, nothing to do with this really, it has to do with the rate setting.
Yeah, just a second, Bill. Does anybody, I don't mean to,
No, go
does anybody else want to make a comment here or offer a suggestion to Jesse to bring up to the powers of town hall discussing any of these items?
Well, I think we pretty much touched on a
Okay,
lot.
yeah,
of
I
what
just
we-
want to make sure because obviously it's an important point. Okay, Bill, go ahead.
No, it's just something that I had been thinking about the last 2 years. At the rate setting, the committee meeting where the rates are voted upon, there've been fewer members present. And there's only been, I think we just barely had a quorum this past year. I think it was the exact same situation last year.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if there's something we could do in the future to ensure that you have a full committee or darn near a full committee. Because when you have 4 people voting on rates, it just doesn't seem right. It seems like people are being
Well, the
excluded.
deadline is set by town hall,
I'm not, yeah, the
I
deadline's
can't-
fine, but I'm
right,
just saying
right.
that, is there some, it's just something to think about, I guess.
I think that's a
My
good suggestion.
big issue is I
think-
coach, and so I'm not available.
No, I
at
understand,
5:30.
but-
No, but I mean, I would definitely, but I think it's improper for me to send a text or an email and say, hey, I agree with those and all that, because it's basically, I think, doing something out of context of a meeting.
Right, but if in advance of the, whatever,
Right.
whenever the meeting is,
Yeah.
if people knew you weren't available, boom, 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 same with John, same with myself or Keith or
Yeah.
whoever, then we might be able to come up with a situation where we
Change
should
the day or
get
change
7
it.
or 8 people.
Well, it's always gonna be that October meeting.
Well,
That's fine.
Yeah.
I remember several years ago.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Where, I don't know if it was you or Bruce or what it was, but we had a special meeting.
Yeah.
After the original meeting where
Yes.
the,
I think that was me. I think it was my
Yeah.
first year.
We did.
It was like 2 weeks after. It was
Yeah.
between the, yeah. So we can do that.
We
We're not,
could
we're not
either have-
limited to one a
Right.
month.
yeah,
Or we could simply begin the discussion, sometimes it's August, and you're not really thinking about next year's rates.
Obviously.
But we could begin, we can put it on the agenda. We certainly could put it on the agenda for August, and then follow up on September. And then in October, just before Jesse has to get it to Mark Ells, we could take a final vote. So we've had sufficient discussion. Or we could have a special meeting, if people want to do that.
Yeah.
I think that earlier discussion of the whole thing is very appropriate
That
to
would
get
be fine.
everybody's.
We could have a standalone one.
That would be
Or we
fine.
could
Tell
have
him
a-
to beat it.
And just like, it's
You
important
don't need to
that
listen.
everybody weighs in one way, shape or manner.
It is, I would argue, it is the most important thing this committee
Yes,
does. I think.
absolutely.
It is.
Yeah.
You know,
So when you
So-
have 3 to 2,
right,
it's,
right.
you know, I
And
just,
figuring out how to get gimmies. No, I'm kidding.
And,
Okay, we're gonna absolutely have that for next year
Good.
in some way, shape or form, either an extra meeting or simply to bring it up in August and have a serious discussion. And certainly in September, and then be able to vote on it in October.
super curious to see what happens, this spring with the new rates and, what the numbers are.
It'd be interesting to see what other courses are doing as well.
Yeah, because we all, us directors, we all have an email chain and we talk to each other, but nobody is sure. Everybody says, here's what I'm thinking, here's what I'm pitching, and we're all doing it at the same time, basically, so there's,
Yeah. You're not saying, well, we found out that Yarmouth has already
right,
done
it's
this.
not like that, it's my
Yeah,
meeting's tonight, my
everybody's
meeting's
doing it
tomorrow
tomorrow,
night,
yeah.
my meeting, yeah.
It's all happening at once across the
Right.
Cape.
So
There's no leader in the clubhouse.
correct, yeah.
Yeah.
And even if they tell me what they're pitching, that means nothing. It could get voted down, and every town has their own rules. I think Dennis can't go up more than 5% any one year. Every town every town's so different. They really are. Some towns,
And not everybody has an enterprise fund.
correct.
So,
It's just-
that's another issue.
Yeah, us, Yarmouth, and now Brewster. They just became, I think, a couple years ago.
All right, Jesse, you have anything else?
I don't think so.
Jeff?
I just want to wish everybody happy holidays. It's that time of year and all we're doing is problems. But,
I know.
It's, but it's been a privilege for me to be here with everybody plus the guys that are missing and Suzanne. Although she can be called a guy, she's a good guy. But, they're all missing, but I want to wish everybody happy holidays.
thank you,
Yeah.
same to you.
We can identify Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa,
Yeah.
and Happy Festivus.
Yes.
For the rest of us, yeah.
There you go.
All right, do we have a motion
For
to
the feats of
adjourn?
strength.
Oh,
I'd just like to make one aside and comment. I was reading the Mass Golf
Mhm.
newsletter that they send out every month. And they had the statistics about which golf courses had
The busiest
The
ones?
most rounds.
Yeah, no, the most rounds that were, put into the gin system.
Oh, okay.
And Barnstable, Barnstable wasn't
Really?
among the top 10, and it went, I think number 10, it was 18,000 rounds.
That's it?
That was it.
Oh,
That's
sure, man,
surprising.
look at all the sandbaggers out there.
That's surprising. That's less than half.
Yeah, so you'd say,
They found us out.
yeah.
Wow.
I was very surprised that Old Barnstable didn't, you know.
Posted
make-
27.
Yeah.
Huh. That is surprising, but
Well, they also had that list of, what, the top 5 busiest courses? Nobody on the Cape, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
really?
Are you kidding me? No, it
Captain's
was
has to
like
be.
George Wright and, the one in, Brockton, Jeff.
Brockton.
Tony,
Yeah.
right?
No, not Thorny Lee, that's private.
Yeah.
The public course. Then Franklin Park was another one, and it's like, are you kidding?
Well, simply
What was
because
the
of the
number?
winter.
What was the number?
I don't,
40 something.
I was so
40s.
disappointed that nobody
Yeah.
from the Cape, I
Yeah.
didn't bother to go on any further.
I know. I mean, Captain's does 90,000 between
Yeah,
the
but
two
that's,
courses.
you know, you're talking 2 courses, I
Yeah,
think they were
yeah.
talking about
So, yeah.
per 18 or whatever.
But we've done 76,000 in between the two courses in the last year. I think that's what I said. Is that what I said there? 74,000.
Yeah,
Which is
that's
pretty much
impressive,
like,
you
you
know?
know, 42 and 32, maybe, Old Barney Hyannis, something like that.
Yeah, and the fact that you're closed, one of them's closed for 3 months, 4 months,
Right.
you know,
That would be
that's
close,
another
yeah.
thing that'll, boy, that really tears it down by 8,000.
Oh, Keith, are you putting in all your scores?
Not since November 15th.
Yeah, can't do that.
Not since November 15th. All right, a motion to adjourn
Motion to adjourn.
and a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.